Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's extended programme. Celtic draw Hapoel Beersheba in the Champions League playoff place. Aberdeen crash out of the Europa League and the manager Derek McInnes is far from happy. And on this Friday night we will look ahead to the start of the Scottish domestic football season across all four divisions. In the leagues we'll hear from the manager Mark Warburton of Rangers and also Mark McGee of Motherwell 2. Really looking forward to tonight's programme in the company again of Alan Ruff as ever on a Friday alongside Hugh McDonald of the Herald. So there are the guys all resplendent in the team suits all ready for action, guys. First and foremost, Celtic, good draw, bad draw?
Time will tell because you just don't know how good Hapoel are. It's the first time they've won the league for 40 years, so it's obviously the best Hapoel team for a while. They've got to meet Celtic by beating the Greeks, so they're decent. I think the way Rodgers and Celtic look at it, say, well, that's better than we might have feared.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Ruffy, I think the general consensus was try and avoid the likes of FC Copenhagen. Other than that, in that top end of the draw, maybe some of the Celtic fans were looking for the likes of Dundalk.
Yeah, I think Dundalk would have been the tie, I'm sure, that everybody would have wanted. But I still think that Celtic need to strengthen. I would like to think that the powers that be know that they have to strengthen. We've already spoke about players that might be coming in over the weekend because I still think it's a struggle for them. OK, they get through the last round, which is great, but this is the biggie. You know, and I think at this moment in time, I think Celtic are still a Europa Cup side. I don't think they're a Champions League side. So they're really just, the quest is to get in with the big boys and just sample the atmosphere of it. But I still think they've got to push the boat out to get them through the next time.
Of course, Hugh, you talk about players that need to come in. Brendan Rodgers has already been quoted today saying he'd love to get somebody in between now and the weekend. Obviously, Monday, the deadline on this one. Scott Sinclair's name, won't go away. And, another one would be handy for them, I think.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they think the other one should be. I mean, I think Scott Sinclair is nailed on in terms of that's who he wants, and I think he will come eventually after much wailing and gnashing of teeth down at Aston Villa. But the interesting one is, where does he go next? I mean, most people are thinking that he's in for a centre half. Duffy of Blackburn Rovers has been the big candidate.
Paddy McNair as well.
But yeah, on loan. But he's got Premier League clubs looking at Paddy McNair as well. So I'm just wondering, like in central defence now, they've actually got a lot of people in central defence. And I'm just wondering if somewhere else in the team is where Brendan may look to strengthen as well.
Yeah, as far as the opposition is concerned, Rob, it's a 5,000-mile round trip for Celtic for that one, so it's going to test them once more. It's a nice little compact stadium. I don't think they're used to European football. The only snapshot you can get is basically Seri Yanko has been talking to Nir Biton, who'll be well aware of what Israeli football's all about, and he reckons they're a good side. Certainly one that I think we would expect Celtic to triumph against, but on the basis of European football at the moment in Scottish clubs, nothing is certain.
Yeah, I think as you touched on it, if you look at the group that they were in, the seeded group, and you look at all the other teams that were in some of the other groups, there were far difficult teams that they've avoided. So I think in any given year, Celtic coming up against a team from Israel, you would fancy them to win the game. That's the basic thing about it. In the money side, they have more money. We keep talking about all these clubs have got a lot of money, we can't compete. Celtic have got far more money than any of these clubs that are left in that tournament.
Well, listen, I'm glad you mentioned the money aspect of this because I don't think anybody is fooled by, year in, year out, what kind of money Celtic are taking in now. I think the fans are well aware of it and they want to see a response in the transfer market. I think they'd like to see it slightly quicker than it, usually is for Celtic over the last 2 or 3 seasons, if not longer, Hugh. But you've got that Champions Cup money. You've got the season ticket money. You've got easily minimum 20 million if Celtic can get into that group stage. This is a massive, massive year for Celtic.
This is it's perverse in Scotland. This is the biggest tie of Celtic's season, without a doubt. This is it. This is the season. This is the season on the line. The Premiership will take care of itself, as will all the domestic cups. This is what it's all about. This changes everything. It changes financially. It changes the players' attitude to the season. You know, you think Dembele is coming up here to play in domestic tournaments? Of course not. It changes the perception of the manager. This is hugely important for Brendan Rodgers. Great momentum, great sort of feel-good factor about him. If he gets into the group stages, imagine what that'll do for him. This is huge for Celtic. This is the biggest game for Celtic since the point of Ronnie Dylan, I think.
Yeah.
That big.
Okay, and of course, the one little blow ahead of European football, Ruffy, whether he's going to be ready for August 16th is a real doubt now. They're talking about maybe 2 to 3 weeks for Patrick Roberts on the sidelines. He was holding his hamstring when I was watching that game against Astana when he came off.
Well, and the plus side of that might just be the kick start to get people in. You know, he's a very, very important player. We saw it in the first leg, we saw it in the second leg until he got injured. So him being injured and the doubt of whether he'd be fit for these 2 legs just might be the push to bring another 2 or 3 in. And
because Sinclair can play wide. Sinclair can play through the middle, but he's no problem playing on wide. And one of the interesting things about the season so far is the way the manager's regarding James Forrest. It looks as if he fancies James Forrest as well, you know. So he's got, if Sinclair comes in, Roberts is out, he's still got 2 wide men.
Okay, let's switch our attentions to Aberdeen, not talking about their domestic season, which is about to start. I'm talking about European football. For me, Hugh, no surprise they're out.
No.
You know, I can read every paper and talk about hard luck stories on this one. Again, it's the third club. It's not good enough. It's where we are. We have to accept that. I have, though, a tremendous amount of sympathy for Derek McInnes on a number of issues with the referee last night and just an interpretation of rules playing advantage. But listen, you still have a penalty. You've got to score it.
The simple fact is, I mean, everybody's talking about how bad the referee was, and he was poor, I think. There is a debate to be had over with the new laws, with the penalty, if he was right or not. But the basic matter is, you put the ball on the spot, 12 yards from goal. You've got to score away from home to have any chance of continuing the competition, and you miss it. That is nobody's fault, but you can call it as a collective or anything else. That's Aberdeen's fault.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You got a penalty and you missed it.
Yeah, the other aspect of it as well, Ruffy, the last thing you want to be, and you'll know this better than most, the last thing you want to be is a YouTube star. And Joe Lewis at the end, I mean, that just kind of summed up the night. I think at that point, if I was Derek McInnes, you just get into a darkened room and thump your head off the wall.
Yeah, I'm sure the goalkeeper probably did that, but I don't think it was his fault. You know, it was the bounce. You could see it was there. You know, it's a difficult new rule. Well, it's not a new rule now. It's been out for ages, but I think it's a hard one for goalkeepers to keep their eye on the ball. You know, and you're looking for a true surface, and unfortunately, just a wee break that never went their way.
The goal was irrelevant.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody said last night, this is the goal that put Aberdeen out. No, it wasn't. The goal that put Aberdeen out was scored at Pittodrie.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other aspect of this, and it's very, it's very easy for us to be really, really cynical about it and say 3 clubs out of Europe, not good enough. But I counter that by saying it's where we are now. Listen, I caught up with Mark McGee this morning and asked him about this situation. You know, I think Mark McGee was right. He pointed out, the financial clout of Celtic. You would expect them to be able to at least, get into the Champions League group stage with a bit of a fight on. But the other clubs, it's more difficult.
We play Celtic on Tuesday night, and I would guess, I don't know this, but I would guess there's probably one player at least in their team who will be earning double what our entire squad are earning. Now, I think on that basis, you should expect Celtic to do a bit better in Europe than the rest of us. And the rest of us, hope for the luck of the draw. Aberdeen didn't get the luck of the draw last night. Maribor are a decent team. They've had good results in Scotland recently. And into the bargain then they get the bad rub of the green where the referee makes poor decisions and they get a bad bounce at the end. So they came close. But I think that the whole European thing with Scottish clubs is flawed in the sense that these are the sort of results I think you can expect. Any better than that, I think the Scottish teams have done outstandingly to get further because we're playing against teams that have bigger budgets, have more scope. It's very difficult for the Scottish teams in Europe.
Okay, finances, that's the problem.
Yeah, but I'd be interested to see what Maribor's finances are opposed to Aberdeen's and the Maltese team as opposed to Hearts as well. But interested to look at that shape up. But I mean, he's right.
As well as the fact we have a dearth of talent.
I think it all boils down to we don't have the players.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's the first part of the programme. Celtic and Aberdeen put to bed as far as Europe's concerned. Coming up in the next part, we'll hear from Mark Warburton. We'll hear more from Mark McGee as well on the programme and look at the start of the domestic football season. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week. As ever on a Friday, it's the extended programme, and Alan Ruff and Hugh McDonald of the Herald are with me. Peter Martin, delighted to have your company. Join us if you can, Monday to Friday at 7 o'clock every weeknight, and also on the Saturday. We kick off tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 4-hour show, bringing you the best of Scottish football, focusing on all 4 divisions. So join us if you can. No shortage of opinion, interviews, updates from the grounds, and of course, might throw in a bit of banter. Certainly looking forward to tomorrow. Murdo McLeod's here just to add a little bit of solidity to the midfield, and of course alongside the legend that is Alan Ruff, we'll have Archie McPherson will be with us on the programme as well to throw in some big words and then 3 blank looks towards them. But that's the good thing about it, Hugh.
Great lineup though. Great lineup. Archie the legend. Murdo has been there, seen it, done it, and you'll have the T-shirt on.
Yep.
And of course Ruffy
is there. I'm so glad. It's just, even if you hadn't said is there, the pause was enough for me. Listen, Ruffy, I'm excited by the new season. I have to say, I'm delighted that Rangers are back in. I think it's a real buzz. Lots of my friends who are fans of both halves of Glasgow's Big Two are eagerly awaiting it. Some people might, for one reason or another, not look forward to it, but I, for one, I'm delighted that Rangers are back in the top flight.
Yeah, I would like to think all the neutral supporters have that feeling as well. I think what we missed when Rangers weren't there with the atmosphere. I mean, you can go to a football game and have a poor game and walk away with it, but if you go to a game and it's poor but there's an atmosphere at it, sometimes it makes it a wee bit better, and that's what Rangers will bring. The atmosphere at Ibrox will be sensational. They'll bring fantastic support to a lot of grounds, and it's just the added entertainment. I think it was Neil Doncaster that said there is now a bit of razzmatazz going about, and I'm sure every other club will take it on board, and I think we're going to have a fantastic season, not just in the Premiership but in all the leagues as well.
Yep, that's from a football perspective. A former footballer, as a journo, are you excited by it?
Oh yeah, You've got to be. I mean, you've got to be mad what team you support. I mean, the league financially and in interest and in publicity is immeasurably stronger if Rangers are in it. It'd be perverse to say anything else. Of course, I mean, apart from anything else, tomorrow morning, just to show it, this game is live, or early tomorrow afternoon is live on television. It's sold out. I mean, so that gives you an indication that other people are looking forward to the season as well. And it's the people that put their hands in their pockets, the most important people. So yeah, I think it adds a whole new dimension to the season. I always felt with Celtic, with Aberdeen being the pursuers, that was never going to happen. That was a personal opinion which has been proved right. Now it's interesting, there'll be 2 or 3 fans in their chances. Yep, yeah. I'm very much looking forward to it, Pierre. Yeah,
absolutely. Here's the Premiership fixtures that we can all look forward to. As you're well aware, 4 games on the Saturday. Kilmarnock against Motherwell, Partick Thistle, Inverness. Rangers Hamilton is the early kick-off, as Hugh mentioned there, and then it's Ross County against Dundee. So some smashing games there. And of course the first one, the reason why it's getting it's hotting up before the ball's kicked, because everybody's having a little dig. That's what's been missing, and it's just fantastic because Scott Brown has thrown the first one and then it's been batted back a couple of times. And here's Mark Warburton's take on Scott Brown saying Aberdeen will be Celtic's biggest challengers.
Very experienced pro, and Scott's entitled to his opinion, and the game is about opinions, about different opinions, and that's why everyone loves the game of football. But we know our opinion, and I'm sure it differs completely to Scott's. But let's see how the season unfolds, and we're in good shape right now. The squad is fit. We've made some good additions to the squad. We'll keep on looking, keep on trying to improve, and let's see where we are come the end of the season.
Yep, it's one of those remarks that's got everybody talking. Mark Warburton's old enough and wise enough in the head, and of course Kenny Miller equally so, because he's weighed in and said, you know, he wants to go to Parkhead in September the 10th ahead of Celtic, obviously because Celtic will have a postponed fixture. The Partick Thistle one, they're taking that one out to go and play. I think it's against Inter Milan.
Inter Milan, yeah. But that is, like, to me, that's the official declaration of the season's over. Not when flags go up or the referee blows to kick off. It's the first spat. I mean, if you try to explain this to anybody across the world, an Englishman, I don't know why this mattered, or why Scott Brown saying that Aberdeen would probably be the closest team, why it mattered, they'd look at you blankly. But we know what a great wind-up it's been, and we know why he said it, etc. We know why Kenny Miller's waited in, and we know how Mark Warburton. It's just a marvellous confection of nonsense, really, because it's all happened on the part. But that's the kind of stuff that you're going to have all season now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other good thing about it as well, Ruffy, you know, I love the fact, and spin it any way you want, you know, the SPFL and Neil Doncaster in particular, they've got to try by hook or by crook to get this product out to as many people as possible, to create the illusion that, if I'm honest with you, some of the satellite broadcasters create with the Barclays Premier League in England. It's not all great football, but if we can gloss it up and then make it, you know, a more attractive product, maybe more money comes into our game. And curiously enough, if the 100 countries that are getting the football over and above Scotland and England get to see it, they'll understand eventually why Massimo Donati will be booed tomorrow, Ruffy, every time he kicks the ball. That's the great thing about the banter.
Well, that is the good thing about it, is that's what Scottish football's all about. And for me, obviously, the Saturday game is the be-all and end-all. But for me, the thing that's exciting is the workplace. You know, the workplace on a Monday morning now is going to be something different from what it's been in the last 2 or 3 years, because that banter's obviously been missing. But now, going into your work on a Monday morning, there's going to be a lot more banter going about and a lot more to chat about.
Yeah, the only downside to it all is usually when you get to a situation where everybody's eagerly looking forward to the season, they all start wearing, you know, their favourite strip out in the city centre. I think that's going to be mightily difficult for Rangers fans at the moment. I think we're going to see a lot of commemorative strips from the 80s and 90s because they're digging their heels in.
Absolutely, and there's also, as you know, there's stuff in the background, supporters initiatives to make their own brand, etc., etc. It's a awful situation.
It could be something like a £6-7 million hole. I think this is desperate for Rangers.
It's an awful situation for Rangers because they're locked into this this deal, for right or wrong. It lasts long term. There seems to be no way out of this deal at the moment. There's also getting invoices for unsold strips as well. That's part of it. So it's that's a real difficult time, and it's also one of these ones, again, trying to explain to somebody elsewhere why a set of supporters are not buying the club's strips, and why the club are telling a set of supporters don't buy the club strips is a strange situation, probably unique in the whole of the world.
But I can understand why. I just don't know how. I don't know how it gets resolved. But I can understand why the Rangers fans are so angry about this situation.
Well, the reason they're angry, of course, is that every penny goes into they're paying. I mean, the level of money that's going to Rangers for this is pitiful. It's pitiful. Yeah. So you can see why, but you can also see why the deal was done in the first place. You know, it was done because it suited certain people. It's going to be, I mean, Mike Ashley's not going to roll over and have his substantial tummy tickled over this one, I wouldn't imagine. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a phrase I never thought I'd hear on the programme, but we've got it anyway. Hugh McDonald here with us, and we're talking about Mark Warburton there on the Scott Brown comment. Of course, he's just interested in getting Rangers a win on the opening day of the season. They're taking on Hamilton Accies, and as ever with managers looking forward to the season, it's one game at a time.
There's a number of tough challenges. Obviously, Celtic is the obvious challenge. Aberdeen and Hearts, you look at their quality, you look at their European pedigree, you look at the experience they've gained in recent seasons, how well they're managed. So we're very well aware of all the threats. But right way through the league, there's no easy games. And we used to speak, David and I would speak about the English Championship and say there was no easy games in that league. We think it's very similar. There's never a given. You can never take your foot off the gas, to want of a better expression. So it's for us to focus every week, prepare well every single week, take one game at a time. Last year people were saying, what about the game on September the 10th now against Celtic, irrelevant. If you lose the first 3 or 4 games, irrelevant. Just focus on the first game, get it right, deliver performance, get the 3 points hopefully, and then move forward from there.
Managers never like to look too far ahead, Hugh.
But it's interesting when he's talking about things being irrelevant. If he loses 3 or 4 games in a row and he's going to Celtic Park with that kind of record, it will be irrelevant for him because he'll not be in a job. I think he's right to look at it as one game at a time. I mean, the great thing about this is the sense of unknowing about this, because nobody, including Mark Warburton and David Weir, know precisely how ready Rangers are for this. I suspect they're ready. I reckon they'll be Celtic's strongest challengers. That's my view. But you can't know that until they get a 3 or 4 games against the top class opposition. So that's a really fascinating game tomorrow.
Yeah, win for Rangers or Hamilton?
I think Rangers will win, but I think it'll be very interesting to see how Warburton sets his side up and how Canning gets against it, because I think Hamilton will sit in and hit in the break, and I think Rangers, that's the one thing Rangers will have to solve through the season, is how vulnerable they are to the break.
Ruffy?
Yeah, I think Rangers will win tomorrow, but I think it'll be a judge for Hamilton. For people, as I've said, like myself, who are predicting that they'll be in the mix again down the bottom. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the result of it is after 90 minutes.
OK, we're coming back after the break. We'll hear more from Mark McGee. We'll also be talking about Hearts and into the Championship as well with Hibs. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy Sports Week. Hugh McDonald of the Herald is with us here in the studio as we get ready for the new season. Join us tomorrow if you can, 2 o'clock, STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow. And of course, we're looking forward to on the Sunday, Hearts with a humdinger of a game. It doesn't get any better than Tynecastle, opening game of the season against Celtic. Robbie Neilson, he's added a few players. I'm really looking forward to seeing Tony Watt.
So, I thought Tony Watt was the answer for Celtic at one point. I thought Celtic for a long time have lacked a big, strong, physical centre forward with a bit of pace, could hold the ball up. If you look at a highlight reel that would include his goal against Barcelona, I mean that's achieved legendary status. But everything that was good about Tony Watt was in that goal: powerful, quick, assured in finishing. I really think I followed his careers and his ups and downs from Belgium to Charlton, etc., and I really, not quite fear for him, but I kind of ache a wee bit about him because I really think that he had the potential to be the real deal. I mean, the real top deal. So it'll be interesting to watch him, but it'll be interesting. Hearts v Celtic, wherever it is, whatever day of the season it is, at Tynecastle's just a smashing atmosphere, great game. Yeah,
it's just a fabulous stadium, Robbie. Robbie Neilson last year, I thought they would finish in the top 3. They were able to do that. He's a cool, calm character. I think he flatlines whether it's a win or a defeat. You don't get any extreme reaction from him on this. He just wants to try and build on what they did last season. Has he got better players in there? Do you get a sense that they can maintain or better where they finished?
Well, I think if you were to ask Celtic, it wouldn't be the ideal first fixture of the season away to Tynecastle, because we know, as Hugh said there, the atmosphere that's there. But for some unknown reason, Celtic have thrown Hearts a bit like a rag doll for the last 4 years. Some of the results they've been having have been so impressive. 4-0, 3-0. And it's the results that you couldn't see coming, because Hearts are always very, very competent at home. So I think going at the weekend and Sunday there will be an eye-opener to where actually Celtic and Hearts are, because I don't think Hearts have set the heather on fire in pre-season. So that's another one you're just looking. I think the weekend is just about looking at 90-minute results and then judging where teams are.
Hearts will be happy. Arnaud Djoum has signed an extension. He will stay at the club until 2019. Good midfielder, has put himself about last season. I think certainly impressed the Hearts fans with his displays, and well worthy of that extension.
Absolutely, I think he's one of the, maybe if not the best player, one of the better players. I would subjectively say he was the best player. So I think it's a great deal, because I know there was other clubs sniffing about, looking to recruit him. I think one of the great things about him is he's so fitted to the Scottish game, because he doesn't like the physical aspect of it. So that's unreservedly, I'd welcome that as a good move for Hearts. I agree with Ruffy that there's, Hearts have. It's desperate to say I've got things to prove because they did so. I mean, people forget they just came up last year and they finished it, but they were wanting to put down a marker very early about what they're going to be about this season because it's going to be a hugely competitive season as ever at the top, and they will be wanting right away to say, well, those downfalls against Celtic in the recent past, this is a new Hearts, this is a fresher Hearts, this is a most positive Hearts. It's going to be a smashing game.
Yep, absolutely. Hearts Celtic on the Sunday. Of course, we showed you the fixtures from the Saturday afternoon. Kilmarnock against Motherwell was an interesting one because Kelly seemed to be most pundits' tips for the drop here.
Well, people have jumped ahead of the game, haven't they? I mean, they usually, they always say, the crisis comes after the first league game of the season. The crisis has come long before that. We come on, I mean, openly now talking about, who fancies the manager and all this training at 4 o'clock and training at 7:30. Do people buy into that? He's brought in 11 players, etc., etc. So, I actually think it's a fantastic start to the season because that's Kilmarnock Motherwell was a hugely intriguing game, but so the other two. I mean, the other two, Partick Thistle and Inverness, you could say the two foreign teams, the teams that have really interested me in the League Cup. And immediately, Richie Foran's done so well. Alan Archibald's system's really come to fruition there as well. But yep, is it too early to say Kilmarnock is a must not lose game?
What I was going to say to you, Hugh, is whatever you do, don't say Partick Thistle are going down or you're getting a phone call because managers get a little tetchy if you suggest they're getting relegated. I've tipped Kelly. It's guesswork at this time. Because you don't know. I mean, I don't even think Motherwell know the strength of Kilmarnock because the team's changed that much. This is what Mark McGee had to say about the opposition tomorrow.
Do some intel, I have reports, and we have video of the little that we've been able to see. We don't know, so therefore, we've got to go there and we've got to think about ourselves. We've had some good moments in the pre-season, including the defeat here at Rangers. There was some good about it. The other games have been very positive. They've trained very, very well. There's a harmony about them. There seems to be a desire about them. They're fit enough at this stage. I think the League Cup has been brilliant for that and getting us up to a level of fitness. Therefore, we can only look after ourselves, go and just ask Kilmarnock the question: are they as good as us?
He's absolutely right, Ruffy. I think when you're talking about a side that's dramatically changed, the one thing I think is a problem sometimes, the only club that I can think of is Ross County who bucked the trend, but if you have such a poor start, it's difficult to try and peg it back as you hit the winter months. I mean, after a dramatic influx of players, Ross County worked wonders under Jim McIntyre, but I can understand why every pundit and their granny's tipping Kelly.
Well, that's what pre-season's about. The pre-season's about if you need to bring in new players, bring them in, get them bedded in. That's what he's done. He's brought them in. The other thing you want to do is play games. You want to start your first game of the season with confidence on the park and off the park. Kilmarnock are going into this game under pressure just because of the results they've had. So they're not only under pressure on the park because the manager doesn't know what the result's going to be, and the supporters, as we know, Kilmarnock supporters are sitting there in tenterhooks waiting to see if they're going to go through the same season as what they went through last year. So they need to hit the ground running. They need to win, to get that support back on, because there's so many other things still happening at the club just now. And as we all know, if you win games and people don't focus on what's happening off the park, so it's important that they get a win tomorrow.
Yeah, of course, Kilmarnock have signed a number of English-based players. Clubs have to work within a budget. I mentioned on yesterday's programme, Hugh, that I would be looking closely at how many Scots are actually able to get a game in this top division now. What will be the signing policy? The biggest problem, and I caught up with Mark McGee on this, is quite simply, you've got a tight budget. Mark McGee did mention to me this morning about trying to sign Scottish players.
To sign a couple of Scottish players. We certainly tried to sign a couple of players from Scottish clubs. And weren't able to get them because we weren't able, in our case, we weren't able to compete with the wages, even with other clubs who you would imagine are at our level. Add to that a kind of slight scarcity of players to go into my team in Scotland outside of those players that are already contracted at the clubs that we're talking about. So you know, I think that we have to look down south. That's where we are. Now, recently, Motherwell as a club have done well from that. You know, we signed Marvin Johnson, we signed Louis Moult. Louis Moult was our top goal scorer last year. Marvin Johnson is, I think, one of the outstanding players in the league. And we've signed one from Kidderminster and one from Wrexham. You know, and they are good acquisitions. I would describe the boys I've signed today, or this window, and I think they're all good players. I couldn't find players like that at that level of finance in Scotland, and therefore, you know, I have to go south.
So Mark McGee has to basically look and say to himself, well, I've got this budget, I can't sign a Scottish player for this certain amount of money, so I'll have to go elsewhere where I can get a player who's of a similar standard or possibly better.
And I mean, he's got the two that he referenced there, very fascinating clips from Mark McGee as always. He gives great interview. The two guys that he featured, Moult and Johnson, they've been outstanding successes. These are guys not only have improved the football club, but will actually aid the football club because they'll go away on transfer fees. It's as simple as that. That's what will happen. And that's what's going to, I mean, managers now don't have time to faff about and say, you know, they're fighting for their lives. I mean, the reason Kilmarnock brought in 11 players from England is a throw of the dice. Lee Clark said he's not just did that, you know, woke up this morning and said, come up with some great grand plan that he thinks this is better or that's better. He said, my job's on the line here. My best way is I don't fancy anything that I was left, really.
Yeah.
I'm going out to get what I want, and I'll go down on my decisions.
Yeah, and the other thing here, I think Mark McGee is honest enough to admit, if somebody comes in with an offer they can't refuse for the club from Marvin Johnson, he'll be off.
Yeah, well, we saw it at Dundee, and I'm sure Paul Hartley would have wanted to keep a hold of his two best strikers, you know, but even the bids that have come in aren't like 700, 800,000, but you're talking about 300,000. The clubs can't refuse it because they need the money to sort of bring in other players. I'm surprised with Mark McGee saying that the English clubs aren't on as big a wages as the Scottish player.
Yep, okay. You can interact with us at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and also facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Give us your view, give us your prediction for the season. We'll go through all of our predictions before the end of this programme, but it's an extended one on a Friday. Join us after the break for more football chat. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week and the final part of our extended programme on a Friday night. We're going to look at all the other divisions that are ready to kick off on Saturday afternoon. We'll also maybe touch on the Olympics, Andy Murray and Mark Webber as well before the end of the programme. First, Championship, really looking forward to it. We've talked about some of the key games in the Premiership. Now we've got a Championship which you almost have to pinch yourself, Ruffy, to see Dundee United in there. Your team, Dundee United, Ruffy, because you backed them all the way to avoid relegation from December of last year when Hugh and I told you exactly what was going to happen.
Well, they've regrouped, obviously, a new manager. It looks as if there's a bit of freshness about the place. Looks as if the support are nearly back on board. But as I said, winning games helps that. But I thought we had a really competitive Championship last year. I think it'll be even better this year. I think last year we had 3 teams. I think this year you're talking 5 or 6. I think it's going to be very close right through this. I don't think any team's going to run away with it. I think there's going to be 4 or 5 teams actually pitching in, and we're going to be hanging on right until the end. I don't think there's going to be a runaway this year. I think it's going to be really competitive.
Yeah. Have you noticed there's a holiday does the world of good for Ruffy? There's an edge to that line there, Hugh.
And who's going to win it though?
Hibs.
Well, every now and then there's an edge, Hugh. To be honest with you, I can't disagree with him. I've picked Hibs to win it. The only problem, you know, in this month ahead for Neil Lennon is he wants to bring in players, but they've just rejected an offer from Peterborough United for Jason Cummings.
That's a big problem. I mean, you know, you love the talk of managers down south, the Pep Guardiolas, the Contes, etc., talking about building, but they know what they're keeping. They know what they're keeping. Mourinho's, they know what they're keeping. Big problem with all these managers is they don't know what they're keeping. And Jason Cummings would be central to any plans that Neil had going forward. So I bet you in the background he's looking about and saying, what happens if I mean, there was rumours, and I think pretty strong rumours, that they were looking at Fazal Abdultoui, who has ended up at Dundee, and that would have given him a ready-made replacement for Jason Cummings. But yeah, big dangers as who goes. I think it's a smashing division as well, and a man of my age and Ruffy's age, we'll look at the names of all these teams here in that division and go, what, that is the second level of Scottish football. Even Ayr United, I can remember Ayr United finishing third in the league. So you've got Ayr United, your Dundee Uniteds, Dunfermlines, Dumbartons, Falkirks and Hibs. And the last match as well, Renfrewshire Derby, St Mirren v Morton as well. But hugely competitive league.
Yeah, the great thing about it is you've got managers, some of them with a proven track record, who are all going to be pitching their wits against each other. I'm really looking forward to see how Alec develops St Mirren. And of course, Neil Lennon, you almost have to do a double take looking at him with his Hibernian badge on. People are tipping him to run away with it. He's got the experience. He'll have a team that will, I would imagine, he'll want them to press high as much as possible when they don't have the ball. This will be an interesting time for Hibs fans from the change from Alan Stubbs.
Yes, but I think Alan had them playing good football. I think anybody who went along to the games were entertained by the midfielders in particular that they had on show. I'm sure they will entertain. But again, Neil will be under pressure. The supporters will expect Hibs to be up there most of the season, so he needs to. It's a difficult game for him to start off with, so they'll need to win games very early as well.
And I'm a huge fan of Peter Houston at Falkirk, Hugh McDonald, because quite simply, not only does he pull a rabbit out of the hat more often than not, but he can, recruit players. John Rankin, I think, is a great signing.
Rankin is a good signing. I think Rankin is just precisely what Falkirk need as well. He's very good organiser, he's good on the park, good inspiration from him, and a very decent footballer, John Rankin, as well. I agree with you, Peter Houston. I think what he's done at Falkirk has been outstanding, and I think honestly, I think the major reason they're not in the Premiership is that they just had to play too many games to get there. As simple as that. In the playoffs, they just ran out of puff. But I think I fully expect them to be thereabouts. But I think it's a fantastic league. I think there might be a team that surprises us. We're talking about Dunfermline. Alan Johnson's is a very strong, good manager as well. And Ray McKinnon did wonders at Raith Rovers last year. Dundee United's probably got a wee bit more to work with. So, smashing division.
Queen of the South. Here's a good signing. Stephen Dobie, getting him back, I think, is great. He'll score goals. Yeah,
and again, Queen of the South were that team that were always chapping on the door, but just not having that edge when it really mattered. But again, I think there, as Hugh said as well, Falkirk, Queen of the South, Dundee United. I think Dunfermline, will have a fantastic support behind them, as they've proved in the games that they've played. They could get up to 5,000 or 6,000, which will be a great atmosphere back there at Dunfermline. No, I think the championship for me will be super.
Okay, anybody tipping anybody other than Hibs?
I would see, I think Hibs, great recruitment in Neil Lennon, very strong in midfield. But I think that tomorrow might be the game actually between the teams that will finish first and second in whatever order tomorrow in Falkirk.
Okay, let's look at League One to see what's on offer on the Saturday afternoon. I've tipped Peterhead to win that division, Hugh.
I will tip Peterhead as well, just in case Jim McInally's. I never like to fall out with Jim McInally. I think tomorrow, you're not going to be far away with tipping Peterhead. Jim McInally's done a fantastic job there. But tomorrow, even at this day of the season, you could see that two of the matches tomorrow pick the four teams that should be there, should be at the top of the league. Alloa v Peterhead and Livingston v Stranraer. And if there was one game I think there's so many smashing games tomorrow, but if I was available to go a match, I think Alloa with Peterhead would be fascinating, because Jack Ross, I think Alloa so far have been the team of the season, what they've done in the League Cup. And that kind of, shall we say, clash of cultures in the shadows of the Ochils tomorrow is a smashing match.
Yeah, into League Two, Ruffy. I had a look at Clyde against Albion Rovers in the League Cup. Like the look of them, like their manager, I think Barry's got a bigger job in him. If he could get them out of that division, I think somebody would sit up and take notice.
Well, I think on, I think Barry would be hoping that this would be the year. Again, they were exciting for the most of the season, just couldn't get it over the line. But I mean, Annan will be saying the same thing as well. And that league last year, I mean, right down to about 4 games to go, there was only about 7 or 8 points between first and 10th, so that just shows you how competitive that was as well. But no, I can't really, there's nothing jumping out at me saying that as a certainty. I would like to wish Edinburgh City all the best. It's always good seeing a new club coming in to the setup, and let's hope they give it a good go.
Okay, the Olympics as well is something that I think we're all looking forward to, Hugh. I still think, though, we'll be looking at it and maybe it's just got a slight taint on it, not only for the country that's hosting it, but also some of the athletes who are taking part in it.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I've never approached the Olympics with such a sense of downbeat, negativity almost about the whole thing. It's the Olympics, opening ceremony tonight. Randy will be out with his flag marching away, great on him. But around the rest of it, I mean, you get the usual stories about the taps not working in the athletes' village and that, but that's completely overshadowed with the drugs aspect, which still isn't fully resolved. We'll wrangle through these games and beyond them, and it's difficult to see a way out of this drugs wrangle. The drugs cheats always seem to be at least one step ahead. So I don't want to be too downbeat about the Olympics, but I don't have the same feeling, Peter, I've had in previous years. Hopefully, once the action starts, particularly in the tennis, where we Scots have got real medal prospects, that'll dissipate.
Do you fancy him for a gold again? Because Ruffy obviously has no faith in Andy Murray whatsoever on previous evidence.
Ruffy's attitude to Andy Murray has been a national disgrace. We know this. We know this. I think it's born of Ruffy's doubles career that Andy's not come back for the doubles at the local Virgin.
Well, he nearly had a bad start poking Princess Anne in the eye.
The eye.
Yeah. For 1 minute there, I was about to just wave goodbye to everybody who's watching this programme. Yeah, absolutely. I love the way you second guesses what you're going to say and then repeats it. You couldn't make that up, honestly. I know somebody else who does that as well. Yeah, does that as well. Anyway, you're absolutely right. Andy Murray will be taking the flag without any hassles whatsoever, and hopefully gets a gold medal as well. Just before we go, just one little thing. I think there's a great car exhibition on at the SECC. I love cars. Motor racing cars, the lot, Ruffy. If people get a chance, they should go along there. Mark Webber's been out promoting it this week. I think if they get a chance, they should go along and see some great cars on show.
Yep, I do believe it's a spectator sport, that to go along there and get the buzz, the noise and everything goes along it. But since I got a bad Scalextric for my Christmas, I've not been a support that.
We'll leave it at that, Ruffy. Thanks for that. Join us tomorrow, 2:00. The football season is back. We're on STV Edinburgh, STV Glasgow at 2. Hope to see you then.